Everyone has his or her own educational philosophy, constructed not only by what we read, but also by what we experience. Through his experiences as a student in southern Los Angeles, as a son of working-class Italian immigrants, and as a teacher of students ranging from kindergarten to college to adulthood, Mike Rose found his. Before talking about Rose, here's something to keep in mind. The comic reads, "Everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." Rose was tracked through schooling like most others. He was sent on a vocational route at Our Lady of Mercy School where he would be educated for a particular job. Rose thus viewed himself as incapable of higher education. This resulted in his lower test scores and lack of motivation. In his junior year of high school, however, Rose learned that he was on the wrong track. His test results had been mixed up with a student who had his same last name. That year, Rose was faced with the challenge of entering the college prep track. His experiences on both paths allowed him to see the fault in our school systems. There was a group labeled capable and a group labeled hopeless. Some of his sentiments about his unique high school experiences are captured in a memoir entitled, "I Just Want to Be Average." As Rose writes, quote, "The reality of higher education wasn't in my scheme of things. No one in the family had gone to college. Only 2 of my uncles had completed high school." End quote. Through his relationship with teacher Mr. McFarland, Rose was able to recognize that his future did not have to be determined by his past or by the labels that school had placed on him. He was challenged to apply to colleges and to invest in himself. As an educator, it would become one of Rose's most prominent philosophies: all students are capable. Rose was admitted to Loyola University as a probationary student, thanks to Mr. McFarland's strong connections. Quite remarkably, Rose would continue to earn his MS from the University of Southern California and his MA and PhD at UCLA. There, he currently works in the Graduate School of Education. He took a break from his graduate studies, however, to get some hands-on experience in the classroom setting. Most specifically, Rose was interested in the inner workings of the inner-city school. He wanted to work with the more underprivileged children of California who were, like him, often neglected due to the top-down, tracked, and test-oriented model. Throughout his career, Rose has written countless books and won countless awards for his contributions to educational philosophy and, most particularly, writer education. He focused on literacy and the adaptation of written and oral language from elementary school all the way through adulthood, as he describes in the book, Back to School. According to this philosophy, education is not a straight track on which everyone remains. Some individuals need second chances at schooling, and it is always their fundamental right and privilege as Americans and as humans to have access to it. As the title suggests, Rose wanted to democratize school, an idea we have seen through a reading of Dewey. A democracy would blur or even eliminate the labels of not only student and teacher, but also of race, ethnicity, social class, sexual orientation, and economic standing. His book, Lives on the Boundary, addresses many of the environmental, social, and cultural factors that can influence an individual's perceived ability to learn. The book then challenges educators to, quote, re-examine their assumptions about the capacities of a wide range of students. Mike Rose is best known for his contributions to writer education, especially with what are considered to be remedial writers. Often, students' poor educational backgrounds are to blame and not their innate abilities. Through many of his books, Rose suggests innovative methods to engage students in literacy and language. The book, Why School, was written to get people thinking about how schools work. In the preface, Rose writes, quote, "We've reduced our definition of human development and achievement, that miraculous growth of intelligence, sensibility, and the discovery of the world, to a test score." End quote. This is largely thanks to the top-down factory model introduced by the administrative progressives in the mid-20th century. His philosophy of writing then allows students to express their individuality and write meaningful pieces, engaging in writing and learning rather than receiving information passively. Rose points out that standardized tests and memorization is not effective because each student is an individual. In Mission High, students like Maria fail multiple choice exams yet receive A's on papers. Rose agrees that it's important to evaluate students on more than just their ability to fill in a bubble. In Maria's case, English vocabulary was an issue, but Rose identifies that each student faces an individual struggle and method to learning. Throughout his career, after teaching for over 40 years, Mike Rose has received his fair share of recognition in the realm of writer education and educational philosophy. Some of these awards were given out by the National Council of Teachers of English, UCLA, the University of Louisville, and the Commonwealth Club of California. Mike Rose doesn't only preach the power of writing to his students, but he practices it. On his website is his current and frequent blog. Topics range everywhere from reforming community colleges to income inequality to presidential elections, reminding us that education doesn't only occur in a classroom. It's affected by many other factors, institutions, regulations, and societal norms. In his blog, Rose sums up his philosophy as, quote, a deep belief in the ability of the common person, a commitment to educational, occupational, and cultural opportunity to develop that ability, and an affirmation of public institutions and the public sphere as vehicles for nurturing and expressing that ability. Now to get back to that cartoon I showed earlier on. In essence, that's Rose's philosophy. As he's experienced, school tries to teach us like we're a collective group. Worse, school tries to divide us into groups of people who are like us, based on labels that limit individual growth. Students don't learn like that, but when it's done right, schooling can be a pretty beautiful thing.